This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 493 for the week of Monday, October 30th, 2017. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And on today's show, very special guest, translator for One Piece in Weekly Shonen Jump, the recently married Stephen Paul is with us. How's it going, Stephen?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's like at least 30 degrees cooler than it was last week when it was like 100 degrees. So it's a big swing. It's very moody times here.
I can't believe it was 108 degrees in late October.
Yeah.
That's...
October's always. He lives in the desert, man.
Oh yeah, you guys. Yeah, whatever. You heard another voice there, and that is our editorial writer and frequent contributor on the podcast, Jill. How's it going, Jill?
Pretty good. Like Steven said, I'm thankful for sweater weather finally coming. And relevant to today's podcast, I had an excellent donut yesterday.
Nice.
Donuts.
Yeah, you did.
It reminded me of something I want to do in a second here. We also have ANN writer for columns including One Piece and Dragon Ball Super and My Hero Macadamia. We have Sam Leach with us. How's it going, Sam?
Hey, wait, did you say you're talking about my ANN stuff?
Yes, those are your.
'Cause I'm not on. My Hero's over. It's now replaced with Black Clover.
Yeah, but My Hero Academia will always be there in the archives, I assume. Or do they just disappear?
Yeah. No, they're there.
Okay. Well, are you you're doing the Black Clover reviews?
Yes, which is. It is what it is.
That's exactly, yeah.
Burn. And finally, YouTube sensation Roger Space is with us. How's it going, Roger?
Good. I just had LA Comic-Con this past weekend, so my voice is kind of shot. I'm not going to be as loud as normal. But yeah, I was just going to comment on what Sam was saying with Black Clover. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, you poor sweet child.
I'm actually enjoying it more than I thought I would. So
Really?
Yeah, it's all right. From what I've seen, like it fleshes out what is in the manga like an appropriate amount, I think, because it was like really, really skinny in the manga.
Well, based on what I read of the manga, I actually thought it was pretty interesting. The thing that just got to me was the voice of the main character. I could not handle it.
So before we
get the dub on that, and it sounds a lot better.
Before we get into our Black Clover discussion for today, I want to let people know we will be at Anime New York City. That's Anime NYC at the Jacob Javits Center on November 17th. That's on Friday. Our panel. Our 20 Years of One Piece panel will be at 8 p.m. in panel room 3. Please join us there. I will be there and Kelly will be there. Maybe others will find out. We will have prizes and more. It'll be fun. Please join us there. And today we have our manga recap of chapter 883. I'm not pronouncing that word, or maybe I will. We'll find out later in the show. We also have our anime recap. Sam, what's that for?
That would be for episode 811.
Thank you. And we also have some Piece Together today. But before we get into the show, we have something very special I think we should do today, and that's go around and name our favorite donut. So, Ed, I want you to start. Which donut from which donut place is your favorite?
Oh man, that's a good one. I like a buttermilk donut from County Donuts.
Is County Donuts a Midwestern thing?
No, it's just this place near my house.
Oh, okay. So yes, it is a Midwestern thing.
The place smells so good every time you walk in there.
Jill.
Portland cream from Voodoo Donuts. It's pretty amazing.
You're also specific to region. I think. Sam?
I do not know how to answer that question.
Does that mean, are you like saying you do not know?
I'm just trying to think of
a donut.
Sam, you could literally say anything.
Glazed.
Glazed?
Okay,
That's
there you go.
With what? Glazed with what, Sam?
Sugar.
Hey, plain glaze is good.
Plain glaze is
Nothing
good.
wrong with it.
Steven?
Plain glaze. So there's a place near my house called Sesame Donut. Like 3/4 of the SoCal donut shops are just owned by like Laotian families and Vietnamese families. And they make a maple bar where they cut a slit in the middle lengthwise and pipe whipped cream in there. And that's my favorite.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That sounds
delicious.
Yeah, Roger.
I don't know. Seasonally, I actually really like the pumpkin spice donuts that they have over at Krispy Kreme right now. They're like legitimately good. And I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin spice stuff normally, but I'd say my go-to, like the classic, is the strawberry frosted from Dunkin' Donuts or whatever Proof Bakery in Glendale, California has for the day. Because they just like will always change up what pastries they make, and literally everything they make is 100% delicious. So those are my favorites.
I forgot Dunkin' Donuts just came to California like a year
Yeah,
or
we
so
just
ago.
got them.
Thank God.
I'm from Chicago originally, so like that's what I'm used to. And those strawberry frosted, like I said, I grew up on that. But now I've kind of been like easing my way to Krispy Kreme. But again, Proof is just so good that whatever they've got, I'll eat.
Yeah, Krispy Kreme is definitely my favorite. The chocolate.
They have
cake.
those in New York?
Krispy Kreme originated in New York, I'm pretty sure. I thought it did.
I thought it was Southern.
Maybe I'm wrong. You could Wikipedia that at some point. Yeah, the chocolate cake donut is my jam. Not literally, because that would be a jam donut.
Well, I like their chocolate cruller Krispy Kremes.
Ed, were you with me when we went to one of the Krispy Kremes in Virginia and you saw them? I think it was Free Donut Day, and it came, off of the, the conveyor.
No, but they
belt.
have one of those near my house, actually. Like, it's the local headquarters for Krispy Kreme.
Ed could attest. I'm a fan of donuts.
Yeah.
So
we went to Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons. I love Tim Hortons. Yeah, it's Canada's
talking about
pride and
donuts for
joy.
like 5 minutes.
It's not long enough, but I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more in our manga
Talk
recap.
about donuts at the top of the show. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
We'll always have time for donuts. Let's get into the manga recap. You guys ready?
I'm more of a roll guy.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, what the hell?
Rolls. What the heck?
This is the manga recap for chapter 883, Merienda. Ed, what's going on in the front page here?
Well, it's the saga of the self-proclaimed Straw Hat Fleet, Volume 17, Idio. There's a fight going on. We're going to beat both sides. So we get Abdullah, Idio, and in the background, Blue Gilly, but no cheat that I see here. And they're just wrecking shit. So good for them.
Mhm.
Any comments on the wrecking shit?
I mean, they're fighting like long-legged soldiers who are wearing like armored bikini bottoms.
Yeah, I thought that was Jeet across from Blue Gilly all the way in the back, because you can kind of make out the turban.
Yeah,
I think
you're
that
right.
is
You're right.
him, yeah.
It's just Oda's super detailed cover page designs version. So it's a little bit more difficult to tell what's going on there. But
I guess, yeah, right behind him. Mhm.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
is that a long-armed guy he's fighting? That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
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 Oda was just talking in volume 86 a lot about the long leg people, so maybe that piqued his interest a little bit there. It's like,
They've all got tattoos.
yeah, that's a cultural
Well,
thing.
remember, Ideo and Blue Gilly are long arm and long legs. So
right.
I think there's a theme going on here.
That's ridiculous. Why don't we move on into the chapter unless you guys have anything about that?
This is good parenting. Oh, you kids want to fight? Well, now you've both lost the fight. So how do you like that? It'll teach you not to fight anymore.
I'm sure that's what was going through Hideo's mind. Ed.
Okay, Luffy, starting up year 4th, is blowing his muscle balloon, but Katakuri, he sort of, with a twitch of his finger, the mochi starts bubbling up and it's attacking him. He's like, blah, 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 ah! And Luffy's all stuck in the mochi. And Katakuri with
your forearm.
yeah, Katakuri with a characteristic. He reads Shonen Jump manga, is what he's saying here. Why must I stand back and watch as you prepare to exhibit power-ups that I already know are coming? It's accurate.
Yeah. Shout out to friend of the show, Frank, who tweeted that. Yeah.
So Katakuri continues, let me be clear. I refuse to underestimate you. So with a gump, it starts to fall from the ceiling. And yes, Luffy, you really shouldn't be shocked. Yes, it is mochi.
Wait,
So,
is
no,
that
I'm
mochi out of all things?
It's surprising to you at this point, but yes.
How is it possible, Steven?
So yeah, this is a mirror mochi, attack. And like I was explaining the other week about Katakuri's stuff, like all of his mochi stuff is pretty clever wordplay in Japanese, which is almost impossible to make sense of in English. So mirror mochi, kagami mochi, is a traditional type of mochi, and actually in the bottom panel here with the stack, that's what they actually look like. It's a very much a traditional New Year's thing, where you have kind of like a Fisher Price little stack of consecutively smaller mochi getting up to the top, and then they put a little tiny like a tangerine on the top, and and they put it on a special little wooden table like thing. It's a very picturesque little treat, and that is that's a New Year's thing, I believe, and that's called kagami mochi, and kagami means mirror, which is why I translated it as mirror, especially since they're in the mirror world. But he also spelled it with the kanji that meant like hanging or like weight dropping or something like that. So that's why they're kind of dropping into the picture here, in the first panel. And so Luffy, who is still stuck in the mochi down on the ground, detects that he is going to be buried alive if they land on him. And Katakuri says that he will suffocate, and then we see them falling down, and it's a smaller series of panels as Luffy is getting clobbered, and then we see the traditional Kagami mochi in this very bizarre mirror world form, and kind of hilariously a little stick figure Luffy hand sticking out of the bottom, just so you know that's where he is, and. Katakuri apologizes for ending the fight that way. It seems like a rather anticlimactic way to do it. But Katakuri is on edge. He is late for his merienda, afternoon snack, 40 minutes late, in fact. And so while Luffy is, kind of tapping out there, whacking on the ground with his hand, looking for air, and Katakuri walks away like every great Batman. Batman was the 66. Was that the series?
Yeah.
Yes. Like every great villain.
or the Austin Powers thing where you just close the door. Those sharks will just eat him.
You'll be at peace soon. And he calls upon his pastry chefs, who were just off screen apparently, and they jump in. Yes, sir. And they've got a big old cart that they are pushing, piled high with some enormous donuts, what it looks like, and they were ready at 3:00. Obviously, it's a bit late, but yes, they apologize because they know clearly from working with Katakuri that he's a perfectionist, and he has a very strict schedule for enjoying his afternoon snack, and the tea has all gone cold apparently, and Katakuri's face twitches, apparently upset.
Jill.
This is interesting though. Like 40 minutes ago, wouldn't the tea party still be going on? So is he just going off to have his own
I don't know if that was
during a tea party?
I don't know if that was 40 minutes ago, but it also makes me wonder, how did he eat during the tea party? Because I assumed he ate during that, but
maybe he just shoved it under his scarf or something.
No, based on what all that Brule was saying about him the last couple of chapters, no one's seen him eat, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Unless she was just lying.
How are you never seen eating in a kingdom of all food? It just seems difficult.
That's why he's so awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He has to go to his room to do it.
Yeah. Jill.
And then because he's such a considerate guy, he's fine with iced tea. The pastry chefs are pleased to announce that today's merienda is donuts with chocolate and sweet cream, which is how all donuts should come. It's amazing. And he says, sugar is the root of my strength, and no one is allowed to watch him while he eats. And he builds this house of mochi, which is a very cool design. And he just goes in there with the food, locks out the pastry chefs. And as they watch, they're all, no one's ever seen him eating. He's so particular, refuses to relax. He doesn't even unwind when he should be when he's eating. He's just on point the whole time.
This mochi house feels like something out of like Dragon Ball or something. I can't even like really explain it. Or during the Boo saga, wasn't there something I feel like similar to this? Or
Yeah, it's a shrine, I think. Yeah, there's a mention that this is a shrine, and it has that kind of Shinto design look, I would say.
go ahead, Jill.
Okay. And then they're all just about how it's just like he just stoically eats. It's concentration, and he's just focused on nutritional intake, and only a billion-berry linchpin of Big Mom's forces could do such a thing. And meanwhile, Luffy just appears right out of the top of the mirror mochi, because he has eaten his way through. He ate the mochi, and he's just like, he's gonna have to eat to win all of his fights, which is pretty great.
I love the timing on this. This is all very good.
I think
they react to him like, "Hey, how'd you do that? I ate it."
He seems frustrated.
The best part too is we just saw him with his hand sticking out, and yet he decided actually it would be a lot easier if I just eat straight upward through this entire structure.
Yeah, that's a good point. He could have just come out the side there.
No.
Yeah.
He seems. Is it just me or does he seem almost frustrated? It's like, do I have to like eat my way out of all? I could do
yeah.
it, but I mean,
Of course, yeah.
I feel like I'd rather just.
That's how Big Mom solves her problems.
Plus, isn't it like an actual problem in Japan where old people choke on mochi at a certain time of the season?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like he doesn't have anything to drink.
Man.
He just has to eat all this mochi. He has no tea because Katakuri's drinking the iced tea. He's got no milk, which gave him back his teeth.
Yeah.
He's shit out of luck, man.
Yeah. Why did the tea get stolen? Yeah. There's a lot to unpack here, but let's just go to the next page, Sam.
We turn the page, and Luffy is asking, "Where'd he go?" And the chefs, the assistants here, are saying, "Oh, Master Katakuri, he's long gone. He's out of the mirror world. He had more important business than dealing with you." But Luffy doesn't seem to believe them, and he notices a voice. He says, "I can sense a voice of someone powerful in there," and he's pointing to the new shrine that's just showed up out of nowhere. And they're amazed that he's using his observation hockey. They didn't see that coming.
By the way, regular observation would have worked fine there.
Yes, it would.
I feel like he wouldn't put it together though. He'd just be like, "Oh,
Well,
how?"
he's got a secondary observation skill, which is his nose. He's sniffing around. And he's saying, is he eating donuts in there?" And the chefs down below are also saying, "Oh, is this another observation?"
Again, they are giant donuts, though they would probably emit some sort of scent.
I love the idea that somebody could potentially theoretically use hockey to sense donuts around. Like he's got that very specific observation.
That is my power.
So he's punching his own palm. He's saying, "Oh, so that's where he's relaxing, huh? He thinks he's won." And down below, they're shouting, "Nonsense! Master Katakuri resides in his shrine, communing with the god of battle and his own spirit. It is a sacred time for him. None shall be allowed to interrupt it." And then Luffy is running off in a different direction. It looks like he's running scared, basically. And then this chef, he responds saying, "Bahaha! The coward! He's only the captain of a small crew, after all." And then a little time passes, and one dump later, Luffy is back, and he's skinny.
Not what that is. Not what that is.
I think that's what he's going for.
No, it is not. You're wrong.
No.
He's exercised.
They've made this joke before. Why would they suddenly switch it to something? Also, you can see he's running. Jesus Christ.
Look, all I'm going to say is you don't see anything. It could be anything.
And come on, is that not totally Oda's humor?
Yeah, Oda would definitely, if someone wrote that as an SBS question, like what's going on in that scene? Is he just using up his energy or is he taking a poop? Oda would definitely be like, yeah, he's taking a poop.
Yeah,
of course.
he would, but that isn't what's happening here.
How does that? What?
Just because someone would do something doesn't mean that's the thing that happens.
How are you going to question the great Oda Sensei?
No, I'm questioning. I'm questioning
if he says he's pooping, Zach.
I'm questioning the regular Sam song. What is
I
happening?
frankly don't see
I have
scenario that is not Oda's intention.
I have lost control of this podcast. Sam, just
And
do
the
whatever
chef
you were
is
doing.
surprised. He's asking, "Is that how the human body works? Can you just dump it all out like that?"
Not what he
Luffy
says.
Ready to rock.
Not what he says. Not what happened.
No, stay away from the
Oh,
shrine.
here. By the way,
to...
hashtag. We're gonna do a poll on Twitter. Hashtag Team Dump or hashtag Team Metabolism.
Team bulimia.
No.
About that.
No.
Baseball.
So Luffy is readying his gum elephant gun, and he's lifting it in the air. He's going on. The chefs are already proactively apologizing to Katakuri.
I think it's Roger.
Yeah, Roger. You're making the suspense even more suspenseful.
Well, I was waiting for somebody to guide me in. So imagine the scene that I'm about to set up for you right now.
Okay.
Have any of you guys seen the Police Academy movies?
No.
Okay. There's a scene-
20 years
I know
ago.
of them.
All right. There's a scene in the Police Academy movies. If you could, Zach, I will send you the music. You could put it real low behind what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, that's
There's a
probably
song
not
called-
going to happen.
Oh, well, that's fine. Imagine the song Blue Oyster from the Police Academy movies playing in the background. Nice, soothing, kind of like club music. And there he is, laying on the ground, the one and only Jelly Bean Boys, with his big, fat mouth going, donuts, sweet, delicious donuts. Mm, mm, mm. Even the whole is a treat. The ease with which you can eat a donut. Mm, 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 mm. And he's chomping down the forbidden fruit, the sinfulness, the donuttiness of it all. Now this is true bliss. Thank you, donuts. And as he is,
Roger
having
gave
his-
this a way creepier vibe than I originally read it,
Mhm.
but okay.
No,
I'm
no.
uncomfortable.
This is as soon as they told me the first time I read this chapter, and the pastry chefs tell Luffy he's having his own relaxation time and he needs his time to himself. That's immediately how I read this scene. Katakuri's having the time of his life by himself. He doesn't want to be interrupted. He's been doing all this great stuff for the Big Mom family, holding
see,
it together.
For
This is
me,
his alone.
Because
I-
Katakuri has a binge eating disorder where he can't. He eats in such a manner that he is so ashamed that he cannot be seen by anybody else.
I mean, I think it's that, and it's also partly sexual. I think. I mean,
no,
He does say
no.
the whole is a treat, right?
Exactly.
Okay, no.
No.
And it's sinful.
No,
Exactly. Yes.
Katakuri has like an OCD thing going on, I think.
He's ashamed of the way he looks when he eats because everyone talks like Brule does about him about how he's the man.
Also, the way I read this, which I prefer than that, was in a like a high pitch, like take his voice and raise it an octave higher and just make him like a cutesy as much as possible, just like
wow.
a
No, I'm
moik,
agreeing
a
with
moik.
Roger on this.
No.
Yeah.
Katakuri is like Mr. Anime. He is the one.
No,
the
but that's
dude.
why it's way funnier if you break that character. Because
He's not funny though. He's Jelly Bean Boys, man. He's too cool for this.
no,
Even
he
I was-
isn't.
I was freaked out when I first saw this mouth. I got to be honest, because I was afraid that was how his face was always going to look. And as we find out later, his face does not always look like this. He's just stretching it out because he wants to enjoy his tea time and enjoy his snacks, his merende.
I also like
Spanish
how his scarf just looks like a reef.
It does, just hanging from his neck. And so we have Brule, basically a flashback of what Brule was just saying a couple chapters ago. Saying,
Wait, is that a scarf or is that a donut? I thought that was a donut.
That's a donut.
It's shaped like a donut.
Kind of
It's a scarf.
No, his scarf is still
Oh.
around him. His mouth is over the scarf because it's
Yeah,
so
he just pulled
enormous.
it down. Yeah.
Jeez, Lord,
He's
have mercy.
drooling all over it.
That's what the scarf's for. It's like a handkerchief.
We've got basically all the flashback tests going back to a couple chapters ago with Brule saying, he's never laid down his life. He's a man who looks down on the earth. He's proud. He's cold. He's always powerful. He never lies down, and yet here he is lying down eating donuts. That's our brother, Katakuri. And he basically looks up in the sky, a little bit shocked that Luffy's here, and Luffy's just about to punch him. And then we move to the next page.
I'm having a
That's
serious.
That's one of the funniest images ever.
Oh, yeah.
Him
That's
just
great.
he's proud, cold, and he's like, huh?
Roger, we were having it out at the end of this chapter because I disagree. But okay,
Oh,
fine.
no.
My reading was Dan Castellaneta. I was like, oh, this is a Homer Simpson.
Yeah,
bit.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that I could see too. I'm closer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, than whatever the hell
Beauty of
Roger
manga.
was doing.
You can read it however you want.
Well,
Exactly.
except that there's a right way. Anyway,
I agree with Roger.
we go to the
It's,
next.
yeah.
Thank you, Jill.
we go to the next page as we see what happens when the donut eating is interrupted. And he pulls his scarf, which I guess he continues to use kind of as a handkerchief here, saying, so you caught a glimpse of how I look when I eat. And this, reinforces, I think, the OCD that no one could see this. And Luffy exclaiming that the fight is not over yet. As he runs toward Katakuri, it seems like that Luffy is not the person he needs to attack, but the chefs that brought him those delicious, delicious donuts. And so he spears them with mole, which is, I'm still going with that pronunciation for some reason.
There's a right way and a wrong way, Zach.
Fair. The other two chefs, after seeing, I guess, the head chef of these guys get speared. No, please forgive us. Not even if you tried to rip the words from our mouths, we wouldn't say anything. And in a true Buggy the Clown moment, Katakuri says, "Did you just say ripped mouths?"
That's that is a very common Japanese phrase, "Kuchikasakate mo ienai," which means like I couldn't say it even if you ripped my mouth, or even if my mouth ripped, or something like that. It's just basically a stock phrase that you would say, like, "Oh, I could never say that about so and so," or "I would never tell you that," sort of thing. So obviously Oda played that into a physical, a literal gag here. So.
Anyway, we see edged mochi here, which is a new technique, as he slams the two. He splats the two remaining chefs here with the gronk. So I assume there is a very cool sound effect to go with that.
They schlup down or schlud down the thing there.
That is a bloody scene.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, those guys are definitely dead.
If they were ever alive to begin with.
And
it's
if
just
this
raspberry cream from the donuts.
Perfect. Jill wins that one. And Katakuri glares back at Luffy, who is now in his sights, and he said, "You survived. Forgive me for not seeing your death through," and just walking away for some reason. I was at the end of my patience. And Ed, what's next?
They both pull back. They go for the punch, Luffy versus Lucci style. And like the cracks form in the atmosphere. It's really cool. But he's hurt by this, even with his armament haki on. Like you can hear his bones cracking and cracking. And Katakuri explains that there's even levels to armament haki, and he rewrites, "Yeah, no one who's seen my true form can live." Like we get it, man. Come on. So they keep swinging at each other, and Luffy keeps hurting his hand. He's like blowing on his hand.
Well, at first it was one arm. It was his right arm, and then he does his left arm. Yeah, and so
it was both.
He didn't learn his lesson the first time
because his hands hurt. Then he kicks him in the face as Katakuri goes back for another punch. But Luffy's like, he didn't dodge. He can see into the future. He usually dodges, and Luffy's kick lands, and Katakuri sort of calmly tucks his shame back under his scarf.
My shame.
And we go back to the next page.
It's his secret shame. Steven. Wow, he is Homer Simpson. He probably eats flowers in his spare time too.
And it looks like he is utilizing that awakening power again, as everything, all the mirror stuff is turning into Mochi, as he says, "So what if it did? So what if your kick landed?" And Luffy slides back, and he's a little bit confused by this. And as Katakuri, as his his many little mochi punches descend on Luffy, Luffy says, "I think I'm starting to understand your powers." And Katakuri is kind of taunting him. "Oh yeah, what have you figured out? I've already taught you every which way that you cannot match my abilities." And he uses the Rainfall Mochi attack right as Luffy does Gear 4, and all we see is just a bunch of collision of stuff and big sound effects. And on the last half of the page, we see that Luffy in Gear 4 form is actually high up in the air, descending on Katakuri, and he says, "Yeah, you might be tough, but you're not invincible." And he uses a Gum Kong gun. And once again, although Katakuri blocks it, He is not dodging out of the way or absorbing the blow or anything like that. It looks like he hits him pretty straight on. It's a very dynamic action panel, huge impact there. And One Piece is to be continued.
Next week, we'll be back with another chapter. But before we finish our manga recap, what did you guys think of this chapter? Jill, I'll start with you.
I thought it was excellent. Every single bit of speculation on Katakuri's face has been blown out of the water, because this is greater than anything I could have thought of. Because I was honestly just going with bunny teeth. This is so much better. And the way I see it with Katakuri's powers, with Luffy supposedly figuring out, it's one of two things for me. Either it's like some blood sugar thing where he just has to eat for energy, or he has to eat so much sugar that his mind is so like hyped up that it's on like a second level, and that's why he can see so far into the future. He's just hyper on sugar all the time. But yeah, I really like this chapter. It was great. I'm really excited for next week.
Sam.
I didn't like this chapter at first. Like, I thought that the silliness of it was a left field moment that kind of halted the momentum of the fight. That's how I was first responding to it. But
Sam,
after,
is that because you don't like donuts?
Donuts are fine.
Fine.
I feel like I'm constantly being.
Zach,
I feel like you're constantly trying to like entrap me into saying I hate something that I don't hate.
No, I'm just the fact that
your
you have
voice
no
rose. Your voice rose considerably when you denied that, there, Sam.
Yeah, if there's one thing I learned from Seinfeld is that the higher the pitch, the more it is a lie.
But then the idea kind of came up that Katakuri's mouth is sort of. It's this thing that he's embarrassed about in the same way that pudding might be of her eye. So like it's almost like all the kids in this family have some kind of abnormality that is kind of shameful in the context of their family and their lifestyle. And I really enjoyed that, and it really makes me interested in seeing where Oda is going with that theme, because it's now it's a theme because it's a pattern.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because especially for Katakuri, because of the way of how big Mom eats. So like that's what Katakuri is like, but in private, he won't let anyone see him behaving that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it's not really a natural thing. He's got a ripped mouth. Something happened there.
Well, it's hard to know if like he surgically got a new mouth, like Hogback gave him a new mouth or something, or if he has like a dog's mouth or a monster's mouth or something. And then got scarred.
Just stretching it with mochi. Like,
yeah, to be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair, that one panel where he's looking up and it's talking about how he's proud, cold Katakuri. He actually looks a lot like Gecko Mori.
Yeah, he does.
Any other
those are most of my
Sam?
thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are most of them. So we'll go Roger, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought this was a really great action chapter. I think like the all the drawings were really dynamic. I love the Katakuri face reveal, just like Joe was talking about. I was really scared that he was going to have a super long Parasparrow tongue, or like there was a theory that was going around on YouTube pretty like I don't know, I saw like 5 or 6 different YouTubers do this, where the theory was that he was a tontada on like a giant muscular dude's body, and that he was basically just like 2 people, and I was so worried that was actually going to be the case.
So would he be like
that would have been pretty good.
Would he be like Mr. Adultman from BoJack Horseman?
Yeah, from BoJack. Yeah, exactly.
Which Oda needs to do that character, because that would be great.
Well, he kind of already did with Baskerville back in Eddie's Lobby with 3 people in one.
Way less entertaining than Adultman.
Exactly. But no, I love it. And I also like, too, that it's a mix of him being goofy and, like wanting to hide his shame. But then at the same time, like Katakuri, he's been built up as this total badass. And it wouldn't really make any sense for him to like have that giant mouth at all times. So I love that when he actually got serious, he sort of like used his mochi to shrink his mouth back down. And he has these really intimidating fang teeth. But everything about this chapter I thought was really good. All the different attacks. I was really interested when he mentioned that there are even levels to armament hockey. And it kind of goes back to like what was happening with the Pika and Zoro fight in Dressrosa, and how Zoro's, armament hockey was just stronger than Pika's. So I'm curious to see sort of like who would be above Luffy and Katakuri in terms of hockey, because it seemed for a little bit that Katakuri was above Luffy, but now it's like Luffy seems to have figured out whatever that blood sugar thing is going on with Katakuri. And I loved everything about it. I think all the action shots in particular were just incredible. That one panel where Luffy's doing the jet stamp up at Katakuri's chin, and it's just like a really beautiful shot. I enjoyed it.
As someone who kicks a lot, I was trying to figure out how the hell that would work, but I'm not going to think about that too much. Steven.
Yeah, so I guess now Jill said that she did not see this camera, didn't expect this particular type of thing, but like, was there anyone else who was honestly like really taken aback by like, oh, Katakuri has a crazy mouth?
No,
because right,
I was worried, but this is a way better mouth than I expected.
It was definitely super cartoony, and like when I first saw the chapter and I got to that page and I was just like, okay, yep, there it is. And originally, like, I don't know, it was so like I was so kind of prepped to have that reaction already that like my very first instant reaction was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess kind of right in line. But what actually sold it on me was like all of the Homer Simpson, like just him going on and on about how much he loves donuts, because it was just like, so silly. It's
not just like that he looks funny while he eats. It's like he's saying things that he would not say if he was not in private.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And that really helped, I think, with the impact of the moment that made it really funny for me. Although he did that thing again where he split the text over the bubble, which I don't understand why he does that, but whatever, that's a pet peeve.
Yeah,
and I like that we're kind of getting the best of both worlds, because like I was more or less anticipating like a monster mouth, and then we get like the goofy and the scary in this chapter.
Yeah, that's true. It does look way different when he closes it and it's just big fangs on a normal sized mouth.
What I appreciate is that it's Luffy who discovers this about him, and Luffy's literally the last person who would ever judge him over this giant mouth just sitting back eating food. Like, Luffy didn't even have a single reaction. All the chefs were like, oh my god, Luffy didn't say anything about it. He just kept fighting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Luffy eats like this all the time, including like 2 pages before. I mean, that's how he just got out of the mochi.
This is like this is the most interesting Katakuri's been to me. Like, I've had a hard time connecting with him as a villain. This makes me like him more.
Steven, do you have any final thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, I think other than that, it was interesting. I feel like it's the first time in a while that we've had a chapter that was entirely set in one scene. Like there was no switching back and forth to anything else, which I think helped a lot because, you actually have time for Oda to kind of develop these gags and play the scenes up. He had a lot of good action scenes as mentioned. And I think he's doing a really good job with this, considering that, Katakuri is not Big Mom. This isn't necessarily being played off as a climactic, everything rides on this the way that, you usually get with the, the hero versus the main, physical antagonist at least. And so I was kind of worried about him being able to, I guess, build it up enough to where like I found it satisfying. I think he's doing a good job, like with the kind of the mystery now that we have is like, okay, well, what is going on? How did Luffy hit him? That's the kind of stuff that, while I'm not really necessarily very big on kind of like the One Piece combat theory crafting, I know some people like to get really in depth with it, which I think
Roger, I think your cold's coming.
Which I think is sometimes misses the point with the way Oda's creative process works. I think he's obviously setting you up to guess about how it works here, and I think he did so effectively because that's kind of what everybody's wondering this week. So a fun chapter for sure.
Ed, you want to?
There was a lot of gags in this chapter. A lot of funny moments, especially with the Greek chorus of chefs. They're sort of there to be straight men for Luffy and for Katakuri. Like they're sort of talking about like his intense concentration, his nutritional intake, and Luffy just pops up out of the mochi and attacks him from and it attacks them from behind. Or the bit where like they see Katakuri and he sees that they see, or he sees that they see them. Then it's just the little moments like that are great in this chapter. And as I was mentioning before, I don't know, I found Katakuri kind of dull prior to this, but seeing sort of where he's coming from and what motivates him definitely makes me like him a lot more. And I don't know, that's about it. I really enjoyed this chapter.
Yeah, I gotta say this is one of my favorite chapters in a while. Definitely one of my favorite fight chapters in a while, just because, I was waiting for this shoe to drop. I think we've been talking on the podcast that Katakuri's gonna have a ridiculous thing, and we're gonna find out what it is at some point, because there's very few just straight I'm badass characters, and when there are, they're usually super uninteresting.
Mr. One.
Mr. Anime, which whose name Gladius.
Gladius.
I got it. Yeah, so and those kind of characters aren't the ones that connect with you. Look, I'm going to give an example of a character I don't personally like, but I know someone here is a big fan of, and that's Senor Pink. And people like him because he's ridiculous. Or as Roger has put it, he is an adult man wearing a diaper.
Exactly.
And so here, the thing that connects me with Katakuri, and Ed kind of put it well, is look at this ridiculous piece of shit right here, eating a giant donut. Like, look, he is badass. He's better than most villains in this series, despite that he has to walk away to do this ridiculous thing he does. But this was just a really fun payoff for me, and now the Homer Simpson voice is actually probably going to replace whatever was going on in my head. So thank you, Stephen, for that. So now if I ever meet Dan Castellaneta and have the opportunity to be an asshole and ask him to read one line from One Piece, this would be the one.
If you ever meet him, just ask him to say, mochi. That's what I would love to hear.
No, I'd ask him to say the donuttiness of it all, probably, if anything. No, this was just such a fun chapter overall. And the Luffy interactions, as Ed was mentioning before, with the chefs were fun. And we see every side of Katakuri from his most badass to his most ridiculous. So I'm really happy we got to see that. Plus those donuts look great. I don't know if that was the background designer or Oda, but either way, I think that was well done.
Well, they weren't homie donuts, so I don't think Oda would have drawn them.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of disappointed now they weren't homie donuts. That would have just added a whole other level to that.
We could have gotten a whole donut musical number.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then the homies would see him, and he can't have anyone see him either.
Yeah. Good point.
But they'd be eaten right away, right? I mean, they die. He'd be like, you get to see my true glory, my true form in the seconds before your death.
That
They're
soul
like,
has to go back to Big Mom then, I think.
Right.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The soul
you're
has
right,
to go
you're
back
right.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think most of their memories get wiped, but every now and then they retain their personalities and they might remember.
Look, the logic of this doesn't make any sense, so let's not think about
Can't
it.
run the risk.
Yeah, this was just a fun chapter. And the two last things. I'm curious as to, I mean, Stephen, do you have anything to shed on the color of armament levels? I think this is probably a big debate.
I did get some questions about that, and I don't know, maybe I could have phrased it in a less specific way, but I took it as I don't think you should take away from that there are like tiers, like awakening hockey or something like that. I took it as like levels in the same way that like Crocodile told Luffy, like, oh, our levels are different as pirates or whatever. He's bragging about his discipline of his fruit powers and so on. Like, I think it's just a sign of, okay, there are varying degrees of skill or power or something like that. Right, with hockey.
So there's not going to be a classic. There's not going to be a classic
with
Super Hockey 2 transformation scene.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, you never want to like categorically rule it out in the text if it's not very explicit in the Japanese.
So someone just has to step on a robot's head and set Luffy off here, and we'll be set. Android, whatever. So
Frankie, no.
Whoa.
I really quickly do want to say one thing though, and that is that I will honestly be disappointed if this fight ends with just him like using his regular Gear 4 attacks again, and because it's been telegraphed so well by Oda that like Katakuri is an opponent that's so different from anything that Luffy's ever faced before, and he's like so much stronger and he could do everything that he could do but better. So I really do hope that within the next couple chapters or however this wraps up that we do get like some type of new form of Gear 4 or some type of new power. But this obviously cannot end with Luffy just using like a Kong gun or something that we've already seen him do before.
Well,
no matter what like Katakuri's weakness is.
I mean,
and if it does, I'd be sad, I feel.
It is beyond me what Luffy has figured out. I know you guys have theories and they might be correct, but like I'm like trying to think, okay, what's the moment he figures it out? It's probably the moment right after he kicked him and he didn't dodge. But what is it specifically that he's absorbing? What information is he pulling from here to figure out whatever this weakness is? Because for the life of me, I can't. It's very difficult for me to like. There are some theories that they're okay, but there's nothing that has like hit me as a satisfactory reason. I don't know.
I do like Jill's idea that he's like basically coked up on sugar, and that like just like a coke addict needs to go to the bathroom to like snort it up a little bit, he needs to go in his little shrine and eat some donuts.
But that's not like something. I feel like it has to be something Luffy figures out.
Yeah,
because it already looks like he did figure it out here when he kicks him and punches him at the end. So he's got to figure out something like an Achilles heel.
Luffy understands food equals energy. So, I mean, I don't think it's anything like Luffy's just like, oh, yes, his blood sugar levels are low and blah, blah, blah. I think he's just like, oh, I interrupted him eating. He's not working at full power.
I would love it if Luffy misreads the reason. Like, there is a reason for it, but Luffy's decided that it's like, oh, it's because you're hungry or because you're...
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense with the stuff that happens in the page before. And I mean, he's technically, stronger in everything he's doing here, but maybe he's just, I don't know. I feel like I would not really be satisfied unless it was something Luffy figured out. Because it kind of seems like he literally says, I figured it out. So I don't know. Well, or I'm starting to understand your powers, which means that it sounds like there's something like he's discovered a specific Achilles heel, but I guess we'll find out. Why don't we move on into the next segment?
Okay.
This is the anime recap for episode 811. I'll wait here. Luffy versus the Enraged Army. I'm your host Sam, and today with me we have Ed. How's it going, Ed?
It's going all right.
And back from a break from the anime recap cast, we have once again our good friend Jill.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Jill. How's it going?
Pretty good. Excited to be caught up with the anime.
It was a good episode this week. It sort of takes a while to get going, but after that, it's pretty good.
The title card this week begins at 4 minutes and 29 seconds. We open with Luffy fighting a bunch of the chess pieces. There's an elongated scene where he is facing off against our favorite Mascarpone and Juscarpone. Mascarpone. I can never remember exactly how to say their names. They've only been really named recently, but Nami's using her Thunderbolt tempo. She talks about taking advantage of Big Mom's thunderclouds. Normally she wouldn't be able to get lightning bolts this big, but thanks to Big Mom's weather, it's an easy feat. But
this first like 3 or 4 minutes was the part that I felt was kind of felt slow, and I was kind of worried that the feeling of like low or no stakes or no emotion would carry on through this episode. That was kind of misplaced. I really should have once Amon started getting into it, like the whole episode was good from there on.
Yeah, Nami is interrupted from her attack by Charlotte Galette, and Galette is saying, "I wasn't paying attention. I didn't expect that a girl like you could be making such big lightning strikes." And then there's a big scene with Amande versus King Bomb, and Amande spends like a couple minutes basically just cutting King Bomb in half vertically.
That was pretty brutal. That was like she's very,
good.
she's impressive.
We see Montdor hanging around. He's like floating on floating books, and Opera is continuing to use his cream that is so sweet it lights Luffy on fire. Still not sure about that. We come to a scene with Carrot and Chopper, and they're in the mirror world. They're doing their Carrot Chopper thing. We see an alligator. We see the guy we'll later know as Diesel. Charlotte Brule is chasing them all around, and eventually they're fighting back. I think was it Carrot? Was Carrot fighting Randolph, if I remember correctly?
I think so.
Yeah, and Chopper's using his heavy point and all that. And there's a moment where Brule is using her mirror powers to create reflections of Chopper and Carrot, and they have a bunch of copies of them. They're swarming them. And they're not really attacking the original Carrot and Chopper. They're just kind of rubbing up against them, which is a little weird.
They're holding them down, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is like this was sort of a conventional episode up until this point, and I liked checking in with what Chopper and Carrot were doing. But
that's every
after
episode.
this scene is where it starts to get weird.
Yeah. So Charlotte Mondora uses his book powers and puts Luffy inside of this imaginary book world, which is psychedelic and like full of crayon drawings. And there's
and it's so weird because he like goes in with Gear Third Punch and he like catches him with a book.
Yeah. So Luffy spends basically the second half of this episode trapped in this like weird fantasy world where
it's like Friday the 13th. It's like a Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, it is a lot like that. There's like there's a lot of creepy imagery, like a cute cartoon rabbit hopping around. There's an owl. There's
when I went
and stuff.
I was on Twitter when I was watching this, and I wanted to tweet, "Welcome to the world of books, bitch," but that seemed inappropriate for Twitter. Like that just seems kind of crass. But I'll say it on the podcast.
But yeah, he's like basically in this weird crayon house, and it looks really weird and trippy and cool. But everything that happens to him seems to happen to him in the real world. We'll eventually cut to what the rest of the family are seeing, and like Luffy is like tied up with a cartoon snake that nobody else can see.
And then he punches a crocodile and it explodes into snakes. Awesome! Like I posted the big four pictures of what I could find like without Luffy in the scene, because Luffy sort of breaks the scene of like being this regular anime character in a cartoon world. But I just love those cartoon illustrations. That's just great stuff for me.
And the bunny that was blinking in and out, that was pretty great.
It looked like a character from this Masaki Yuasa short film called Cat Soup I got on DVD earlier this year. It's really interesting.
Yeah, so Luffy can't do a whole lot to move around, and this makes him a prime target for Opera's brothers to double team him basically, and be punching him from both sides. And it actually looks like it hurts quite a bit. Like this is the point of the episode where they really start to sell you on the Charlotte family winning this fight. Like Luffy is, he was exhausted from the get-go, but these are also an Emperor's crewmates. So they're pretty strong.
They've been selling.
Yeah.
They've been selling that pretty strong for the last 3 episodes, and it's been a pretty good 3 episodes.
Yeah, I just like whenever there's a low point in the story, it's really easy for it to just kind of feel like it's just happening because the story said so. But like they do a good job making this actually feel like a defeat.
I like the part where the bunny is beating with its ears.
Yeah, there was also Nami and he can see Nami and Amande in like a little cage within the house, which is another weird little thing.
That was a good reel.
But
was
eventually,
really good. I liked how that looked.
Yeah. Eventually, Luffy falls. And then we come to a scene between Sanji and Big Mom. Sanji is like visiting Big Mom in her big like throne room, and she's eating snacks, and she's happy as can be. He's asking. He's saying, "Okay, I'll cooperate. I'll cooperate with the wedding. I'll do everything in my power to make Pudding happy. But I want to ask if you will let my crew leave this island safely in return." And Big Mom agrees, although we can't really trust villains making promises in this show. But she's quick to remind him, now listen, under any other circumstance, the things your friends are doing like would be not okay. We would have to punish them, but because there's a wedding and I'm in a good mood, I'll let it slide this one time. Then we come back to Luffy's side of the episode. Everyone's laughing. They're like, yes, we defeated that Luffy kid. And Amande goes digging through Nami's boobs. She has to like undo her top for a bit to dig around and find the Viva card.
Surprisingly lewd.
Yeah.
Not saying I didn't like it, but
And I was very shocked there for a moment.
No comment. So Amande finds the Viva card and she's holding it up, and it's like, oh, of course, this is how they were getting around with the homies and getting through the seducing woods and all that, because they had something that they really should not have had, and they determined that they got it from Lola, which doesn't seem to make it any less confusing to the family. They're like, why would Lola even have a Viva card? We're not supposed to have Viva cards. And they try dragging Luffy away to take him to prison, and he spends the last scene of the episode doing everything in his power to like grip the ground. He's really just gripping the grass, which should just pull out right away. But whatever, he's digging his fingers into the ground, and he's like, no, I will not leave. This is where I promised Sanji that I would be. And then they kick him in the back, and he passes out, and that's how the episode ends. Any general thoughts on the episode, you guys?
I enjoyed it. I like the tension in that Sanji Big Mom scene, but the main event is the cartoon world, and also Luffy like selling the damage from that beating, actually getting beaten down, actually getting hurt, and getting taken into custody, basically. Yeah. They really sold that damage really, really well. That's what I was worried about at the beginning of the episode. Like, are we going to feel that they're actually hurting Luffy? And it did a good job of showing that.
Yeah, I agree. I felt pretty tense throughout this entire episode because I just marathoned this episode and the two beforehand, and even like
three great episodes, like
yeah,
like the best 3 episodes in a row in a long time.
Yeah, even knowing what happens in the manga and then knowing in general in One Piece that Luffy's eventually going to be okay, they still really, like you said, sold that he was hurt. It just made me tense, even if I knew exactly what was going to happen. So it was a really, really good job all around.
Yeah, I enjoyed the episode because, I mean, you talk about these last 3 episodes being good, but these last 3 episodes have been, like, it's stretching a part of the story out that I kind of want to be more decisive and, like, quick. Because in the manga, it's like you basically just cut back and the Big Mom family has already beaten Luffy and Nami. So I don't really want to spend 2 episodes in this fight like we did, but I did like this episode. I did like seeing the family use all their crazy powers, and like seeing Amande cut King Bum in half, and seeing the book powers, and like all this good variety of stuff, despite the fact that they're technically stretching out just like a few pages worth of content. So yeah, I enjoyed it for that. I enjoy the Sanji and Big Mom scene a lot. I thought the episode was pretty good. That's generally how I feel. Is that all we want to say? Is there anything else you want to say?
I don't know. I'm sort of, I don't know. My expectations for next episode are pretty high.
Yeah, next episode just looks like it's just all stuff that I am into.
It's like spy infiltration, and of course another 90-second Chopper and Carrot scene.
They should be concluding that one soon, I think.
Hopefully.
All right, thank you guys for coming. We can move on to the next segment.
All right.
This is the Piece of Donut, where we take your donuts and other kinds of donuts, and also those smaller donuts, which we like as well, and we eat them. Let's start. No, we don't take those. Let's start with our favorite segment, Ed.
This piece.
So if you want to submit your This Piece on Discord, all you have to do is become a subscriber on Patreon at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast and show proof of subscription. Let's start with Morgul, who said, I know it's Fishman Island, so nobody probably cares, but am I the only one?
I do.
But am I the only one who's noticed that Funimation Season 9 Third Voyage set has been out for almost a month now, and yet we haven't heard hi nor hair of the 4th voyage yet? I know Funimation has previously taken breaks in between seasons to work on side projects like Film Gold and the Heart of Gold special, but I don't think they've ever taken a break in the middle of a season like this. Should I be worried? I want them to hurry up and finish Fishman Island so they could get to the good stuff.
Whoa.
No, it'll be up by
just taking their
Christmas.
time.
Oh yeah, by Christmas seems. I mean, when has the December announcements come out though? Like the releases? Usually those happen a couple months ahead of time.
Yeah, I think people are tracking the usual announcements, and they figured that the Voyage 4 would have been announced by now if it was on the regular schedule. So it means it might take like one more month than usual for it to come out or something. We don't know exactly what's up, but like I wouldn't worry. Like they're in the middle. I mean, it's not like they lost the license to those episodes or anything.
I mean, there may be a dip in buying numbers just because it's the middle of Fishman Island, but
Hey,
Which is so good. The flashback.
it's better. It's better.
Watching. Oh my! I watched the flashback recently, and because the dub's out, and it's we underrate that thing like
It's
real
so
hard. I
good.
think.
All right. You guys need to shut up, except for Sam.
the flashback's good. It's everything else around the flashback that I have a problem with.
I would argue that, but I still think it's important to say that flashback is really freaking good.
I 100% agree with you. I think it was on the higher end of my backstory list, but the rest of it around it is there's issues with the story. I think Oda had a good idea. I'm not going through this again. We've talked about this like every week for the last 3 years. Let's go to emails, Ed.
Well, I mean, just to follow up.
Yes.
I think it's okay if they take their time, just because they've been going like they've been going faster than usual the last few seasons, and I mean, I don't know, I can't say exactly what causes what, but I think the dub suffers a little bit from it, like at least with like all the extras and stuff they have to find.
They're also getting closer to catching up, so maybe there's a little less pressure for them. They also filled the gap, which had been there, or actually that was a long time ago at this point.
Yeah.
Let's go. They're
They're perpetually halfway there, basically.
They're only like 5 years behind right now.
Yeah.
They're really not that far behind, yeah. I mean, the fact that we've done anime recaps for the episodes they're talking about certainly says something. And, like in somewhat recent memory.
Let's put it into perspective. We were in law school when these anime episodes were coming out.
Yeah,
So-
but I don't think this helps other people
That's
besides
perspective
you
for
or me,
you.
Ed.
I know. I was mostly talking.
Okay,
about
everyone,
private
let's-
conversation.
Let's
You all
put
went
this in
to-
perspective. Ed and I were in law school. Next one comes from Andy Yoho. I guess for longtime listeners that they may remember that. Andy, friend of the show, says, I was trying to find a fitting term for it, but Steven coined it best in last week's episode. Earlier this month, I also had stealth wedding, even though... What? Oh, with this, yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
It just put two and two together what the hell he was talking about. It's like, what in One Piece was there a stealth wedding? Even though my wife doesn't share my love for One Piece, kidding, she's still worth it, is what he says. I guess she's not listening to this. Anyway, he continues, speculation time. Would it be safe to assume that Katakuri's weakness is his emotions? Despite his stoic nature, he can't concentrate on his observation hockey now that Luffy has seen his face. If you've already discussed this, you could skip this, but I like this idea more than
That's not bad.
some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Just Martin, who says, I think I have some tips to maybe make the current arc even better. 1. Perospero needs to be louder, angrier, and have access to a time machine. 2. Whenever Perospero is not on screen, all the other characters should be asking, where's Perospero? Aside from that, I am curious about everyone's favorite member of the Big Mom family. I would say mine, but I think it's clear at this point.
Sparrow, you look like you have something to say.
Do you?
Does Big Mom count?
Sure.
Your mom's pretty
He's
awesome.
for the family.
My favorite.
Capone.
I'm gonna
I
say
think maybe that
Katakuri.
counted
I
a
like
few months
Katakuri.
ago.
Yeah, I don't know.
I actually kind of like
so
Smoothie.
Yeah, Smoothie has a cool design, but I wish that we had seen more of her doing stuff.
Yeah.
If it was someone who is not Big Mom, I think I would probably go with Brûlée. I just feel like they've gotten a lot of really good mileage out of Brûlée, even though she seems kind of weird at first, but she's kind of had a Caesar-like role in the fact that they have to have her constantly in the arc because of her mirror powers. So once they neutralized her for the most part, she just kind of became a punching bag, and there's been a lot of good humor from that.
She spent so much time of this arc tied up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's go to the next question from Kyle. I've been listening to the podcast for about a year now. Thank you very much. First time writing in. Which emperor do you think would win in a drinking contest? Now, I don't know a lot about all of the... Well, actually, they all drink, don't they?
Yeah.
I think Kaido wins that.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, but Shanks is also a pretty big partier.
Kaido's just physically larger. And
Yeah.
possibly
Kaido,
not...
every time Kaido
not
drinks, he
human.
just cries. He cries about his family.
No, he has different-
including
Not every
Whitebeard.
time, though. That doesn't happen
It's
every
different
time.
every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure Whitebeard was
Hmm.
just basically drinking all the time and had
Yeah.
IVs of saline to keep him going.
But I do like the idea that even little Shanks could put them under the table.
Maybe, but now he only has one arm's worth of circulation, extra circulation for his blood.
It just makes it that much more impressive.
This is his handicap in drinking. Wow.
Okay, next
He
one.
can't double fisted anymore.
No.
Next one comes from Maddie, who has a theory about what a special paramecia actually is. And she says, similar to Logia? How Logia, right?
Logia.
It changes the composition of the body of the user into something other than flesh. However, unlike Logias, whose official definition states that they transform the user into a natural element, a special paramecia would transform the user into a man-made material like mochi. What do you guys think?
I still think it's an authorial fuck up. That's what I think it is. Yeah.
Paramecia is
tend
just
to
like Oda just
Yeah.
shoved everything else into it.
Right.
Like we've got Zoan and Logias are very obvious. Then Paramecia is just like, whatever.
Yeah.
That's really it for the emails if you want to go to Reddit, Stephen.
Okay, Reddit. We'll start with Batsman's Gooch, who says, I feel Germa has somewhat redeemed themselves with the Big Mom Pirates beatdown, but was it ever specified what Yonji's power was? His epitaph is windscreen. Does that mean his power relates to pulling things out of mud? I think it does.
Didn't we see that in his very first appearance?
What was he pulling
no.
out?
He just used just Germa tech.
Yeah, I didn't really
they
do
just
anything.
They just mentioned his name. Yeah.
I mean, we've determined scientifically that he is the Charlie of the gang. So, he's kind of the useless one. Narthon says, the more I think about it, the more I think Big Mom isn't going to get her cake. If she is to change, she needs to learn it isn't acceptable to just have a tantrum whenever she doesn't get what she wants. Luffy will further defeat her by refusing her cake.
Wow.
Mm.
That's
That's
assuming a
cruel.
lot there.
Sounds dangerous.
I don't
Like,
think
Luffy's
Luffy's
just
goal is
gonna
to
eat
teach
it
her a
in front of
lesson.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think their goal is to teach her a lesson right now.
No.
Yeah, this is not an episode of a 1990s
Sesame Street.
sitcom.
I think they're more concerned about staying alive.
Well,
Bad
yeah.
mom, no cake.
We do have a Big Bird in the arc, so it could be a Sesame Street
Fair,
episode.
fair.
But where is he? We haven't seen Big News Morgans for a while now.
He flew away.
Every chapter
Nope,
he's not in is a worse chapter than it could have been.
I
Wait.
agree.
That kind of rhymed.
He's,
Well,
he's
he would
out.
rhyme.
He's out spreading the big news. I feel like he's in that part of the cycle, the news cycle now. Piersey says, I love the trivia thing you guys did at the end of the show last week. It was great. You should check out the podcast Trivial Warfare. They do a similar thing during their warm-up round. What do you think Luffy figured out about Katakuri? My guess is that he can only see the future if Katakuri doesn't change it. So when he goes to hit Luffy because he knows where he will be, the future then changes and his predictions won't be accurate. It could be. I mean, this is one of the difficulties of introducing, future reading powers is that it can quickly make everything very complicated. And my tendency is always, there's always an Occam's laser with Oda and his special powers. It's always the simpler the better. So anything
Occam's
that
laser.
yeah.
How have you not listened to the podcast
Yeah.
before, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay. For
missed
people
that
who
one.
don't remember that,
From
we
2011.
yeah, we coined the term during Dressrosa when Frankie really wanted to blow up the.
That was not 2011, was it?
Zach,
13. I think it was 13 or 14.
It
To
was
be fair.
not 2011.
It was 13
We-
or 14. I was
we were talking
exaggerating.
about the simplest, how is Frankie going to blow up the factory? And I think we coined the term Occam's laser.
It was
He
still
never
around.
fucking did it. He
No,
never
he
did
never
it.
did.
No.
It was still at least 4 to 5 years ago when that happened. Believe it or not.
Just Rosa was, I think, at the Sabo thing when I moved here, and that was mid 2014. I think they had just gotten to Sabo.
Again, personal.
Well, I
I can't.
distinctly remember 2012 being Fisherman Island. So
I
Yeah.
can't reiterate how
Yeah,
personal
yeah.
anecdotes about ourselves does not tell the audience.
All right. Well, I graduated high school in 2010.
Okay, let's please move on.
Oh, God, don't say
I graduated in 2012.
Wait,
so-
you graduated high school in 2010? Jesus.
Yes.
this.
Stephen, please move on.
All right. Yeoman Axel wants to know, are you guys familiar with One Piece fan fiction?
Yes.
Next question.
Hey, we got Jill on for this. Yeah.
Look, we have a separate segment for this in 2 hours and 53 minutes, so just skip to that part. Go ahead.
Well, so Yeoman Axel has a suggestion of a fanfic called This Bites. It is a self-insert that takes a normal person and puts him into One Piece's world. There's an incredible amount of detail and planning that go into each chapter. I recommend it to hardcore fans like yourselves, and there's a link to the fanfic.
Cool.
All right. Well, if people are interested in that.
It's in the thread at reddit.com/r/One Piece Podcast.
For episode 493.
I'll go
Words
play some Sonic Forces now. Put my OC character in there.
do not steal.
That's right.
Words Dear says, Katakuri kind of gives me Boa vibes. They both have a disfigurement they want to hide, so they hide themselves away with Boa when she bathes and Katakuri when he eats. They both put up a cold, cool front, but can be silly. The Celestial Dragons branded Boa. I wonder who ripped open Katakuri's mouth. Big Mom probably. Is Katakuri going to fall in love with Luffy?
Oh, that would be great.
I believe Category probably tried to eat so fast that he ripped his own mouth open.
I also like that. I was going to say Boa's was like a serious thing that she was hiding, but we don't know Katakuri's.
That's true.
Yeah, we don't know why it's like that, but as far as we know, it seems like a ridiculous difference. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an interesting parallel to draw, though, for sure. And, it's kind of a similar thing to what Sam was saying about pudding as well. So I guess we'll see if there's more backstory about that to come. Or if it's just like, like Fugaro. It's like, oh, dude has a silly mouth. Prince of Assassins has some commentary. I find it interesting that the theme of this entire arc is about lies or putting on fronts. The whole prelude to the arc kicks off with Bedge shooting Peckham's because he was going to lie about finding the Straw Hats. And we have Pudding putting up her front, Big Mom pretending to join the Vinsmokes, Cracker having a secret suit of armor, Big Mom children keeping things hushed to avoid upsetting their mother, Sanji lying to himself about his happiness, that Big Mom's idol was a lying child trafficker, Prospero lying about the cake, and now Katakuri being so professional that he only has snack time to really enjoy himself and lay back. It really speaks of a dysfunctional organization where everyone is putting on a different face and can't communicate honestly with each other, which goes against the ideal version of a family and is why the Straw Hats made it this far. Like if she gave Pudding more confidence and didn't instill such fear in Opera, the Straw Hats might have all died. Ironically, Doflamingo. I'm not sure what that means. So in a way, Big Mom's way of life is presented as the main issue that affected the Straw Hats rather than them simply getting lucky, which I think is great storytelling. Mm-hmm. So with all of that, how do you think Oda will address the resolution of Big Mom and her family?
Well, I agree with pretty much all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, I really don't know how this ends because I do think that, man, like, because it does feel like there's going to be a potential, like, the Big Mom family are allies of the Straw Hats at some point down the line is the vibe I get. But I do really like that aspect of this arc, like that sort of theme of this family who manipulates. Because part of why I found the Pudding scene where Sanji talks about her eye so effective is because it's like, it's less that it's a compliment and more that Pudding, being a part of this family, has no idea how to respond to sincerity.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I guess the question for me, like I agree that it's definitely been a major subtext to the arc. I guess the question would be, is it going to become the text of the arc at some point, or is that just kind of background? Because the other hand on this is that all of these things also make for more interesting storytelling. You're constantly finding out new things, or having betrayals and stuff like that. It's kind of what made a lot of the buildup of this arc so exciting. And I think in a large way, you could contrast that to Dressrosa, and how so much of what happened in Dressrosa was telegraphed way too early, and thus there was just a lot of kind of slogging through stuff that wasn't surprising enough. And so he's he clearly has taken great steps to not have that happen in this case. But that is interesting. I feel like that would be a very satisfying thing, especially given that you also have the issue of Sanji and his family, and it seems ripe for that kind of I don't know if moral is the right word, but that kind of a thematic tie-in at the end.
Yeah. One of my theories has been that Pudding's she's going to leave the island like Lola to pursue some dream that we don't know about yet. But but seeing these connections, seeing that Katakuri seems to be in a pretty similar boat. I don't know if that's the direction I'm expecting now.
They all.
Man, I really don't know, because like I don't think of like Big Mom and Judge are the bad parents of this arc, but I don't put Big Mom in the same like tier of bad parent as Judge.
Yeah, there's different flavors. Queen Popcorn says, hey, love listening to the podcast. When will your next call-in sessions on the phone be? I've been kind of keeping up with the podcast on and off, but I want to be able to participate in the next call-in session when you have it.
Well, first off, you shouldn't listen on and off. You have to listen every week. It's a requirement. It's part of the... No, So the problem, I'll just say, is that Skype updated, and now I don't know how to accept calls into an ongoing conversation. If anyone could tell me if that's possible via Skype, let me know. Otherwise, we got to find, and we have also been researching other technologies to record the podcast, but there are give and takes with everything. So there are different drawbacks with certain technologies. If we use Discord to record, or if we use Google Hangouts, I don't think I'd be able to split the podcast up as an M4A, because I would have to use something, another recording program that would make it difficult. So there's a lot of pros and cons, and I would rather keep the M4A chapter format, if possible, because there's a lot of good things that come out of that.
Yeah. And I guess on a more specific reason, one of the things that we, do, because the manga has kind of semi-frequent breaks, is when we have to fill it in with something else. And whenever there's a new volume out, that's always the first priority. But also starting this summer, we had these, 3 issues of the One Piece magazine. And so, those, we've done 2 of them, and we still got the 3rd one, probably the next break. That kind of fills up in an episode all on its own, as an alternative to the manga. So, we just haven't had the kind of, I guess, the necessity to do that, because there wasn't anything else to cover, that week. So, probably next year, I would imagine we'll probably have more opportunities to attempt it, at least, if we can figure it out. And so she actually has a question. Luffy nullified his ability to shrink after Gear 3rd after training during the time skip, correct? Such a shame. I thought it would be cool to see him try and escape through one of those tiny glass shards in mini Luffy form from his Gear 3rd side effect. Now it seems he will try and fight instead of escape. What tactic or thing do you think Luffy's got? Okay, well, we already talked about the tactics, or what we wonder. I think a lot of the stuff with like side effects and kind of the weird quirks of powers are things that Oda tends to kind of sand down over time, because they're usually interesting once or twice to deal with as a plot element, but you don't want to have to draw it out or depict it every single time, and so you just kind of shorten the it's sort of like with Gear 2nd, how now Luffy just pops these things off and there's no cooldown or anything like that. I imagine we'll probably see something like that for Gear 4 eventually, where there's no Luffy getting tired or whatever, and he could just transition into whatever happens next. And I don't think it's a bad thing. And who knows, he could probably bring that stuff back if he ever wanted to, for a gag or whatever.
The fighting at this level requires sort of getting over that.
Yeah, exactly. Orange Shades has some thoughts, and this is kind of what I was saying about a previous question. I've been trying to put my finger on why the fight with Katakuri was bothering me, and this week cemented it. My realization is that you cannot make a fight with someone who can see the future have a satisfying conclusion. Many people have praised Katakuri for stopping Luffy from powering up to Gear 4, as they should. However, any praise should be immediately dismissed, with him assuming that Luffy would suffocate under the Mirror World Mochi. I understand that Oda wanted to introduce a quirk for Katakuri regarding eating and lying down, but in order to do so, he had to make a character who can see the future assume he had defeated an enemy. Luffy was able to get out, which obviously he would, but in order for him to do so, Oda had to make Katakuri, a character that can see the future, actively choose not to see the future. He had to make the character choose not to use his power and do the direct opposite thing he did earlier in the chapter. This is why this fight is ultimately not satisfying. Yes, Luffy discovered a weakness in Katakuri's methods, but in order for him to do so, Katakuri had to do the one thing everyone always does and underestimate Luffy. Anyone have any rebuttal to that?
I think there's a big difference between underestimation and letting your guard down. I think...
Well, yeah, and he's not letting his guard down because he thought...
Right.
Well, he needed his snack break, real bad.
Yeah, look, everyone has their thing.
It's been 40 minutes.
He's kind of ridiculous. He's kind of a ridiculous fancy boy that way.
Also, how far
gotta have his donuts.
Fancy.
How far ahead can he see in the future? It's only a few seconds, right?
Two panels. Two panels.
He probably saw Luffy drowning under there and was just like, "Yep, that's good. Not getting out of that."
Right.
I don't think it's actually.
He probably can't see that far in the future when he's eating, though. His mind is occupied by food. Food only.
Sam, have you had a donut before? When you're eating a donut, I specifically say Sam.
I eat a donut, my mind goes blank.
Exactly.
It's a prophecy paradox where Katakuri saw 2 panels in the future that he was going to be eating a donut, and he was like, "Oh, fuck this! I'm out of here. I'm gonna eat this donut."
Ed, I figured it out. The weakness that Luffy found was just to shove donuts in his mouth, and he can't predict the future if he's eating donuts.
Jokes aside, I don't think that's actually a terrible criticism, unless it turned out that Katakuri was holding back this whole time and he didn't actually care if Luffy died or not. But it's a thing that happens in this chapter, because I'm comparing it in my head to Dragon Ball Super, where that is my problem, where every week it just feels like Goku's holding back just so the story can keep going. And it gets really exhausting there, but for it to for a little moment like that to happen within this otherwise really cool fight, it doesn't bother me much.
He even says, "Oh, I let my guard down because I needed my break to eat donuts," basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the kind of thing where, when you introduce a power like this, you can only really assume that the end result is Luffy figures out how to hit him so fast that it doesn't matter, which I think is a generally satisfying thing.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's a Gear 4 Speedman or something, that'd be cool.
It all depends on how Oda is going to, introduce,
What's next?
The solution. Fierce Alchemist said, knowing Oda, I suspected Katakuri wouldn't stay Mr. Too Cool for school forever, but I didn't see the twist in this chapter coming. My one critique was that Luffy got out of a bad situation by eating again, just like he did with Cracker. How many times can Oda use that in an arc all about people with food devil fruit powers? Well, I was saying during the manga recap that this was a very meta commentary chapter with Luffy wondering how many times he was going to have to eat his way out, and then the chefs wondering if that was really how the human body works when Luffy runs back skinny again.
Yeah, so, not going to the bathroom, Sam. For the record, this whole chapter was kind of meta, if you think about it.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of commentaries on the shonen fight something I forgot to say during the manga. The reason I love this chapter is because it takes what you would normally see in any other shonen anime. Like, I'm rewatching Yu Yu Hakusho recently, which is great, and I love it. But you would never see something like this in that. I mean, Dragon Ball Super, you might see something like this, but I don't think you'd see it in Dragon Ball Z, at least. So it's just cool to see the shonen fight kind of twisted on its head in the most Oda of ways, and that's personally why I liked it. And I know that's kind of a tangent, but anyway, go ahead.
Let's see. Raynard Not a Fox says, Happy Hallows Eve to you all. Since Mascarpone and Joe Scarpone are part of the Charlotte children, what are the chances we would see their sibling Charlotte Toblerone? I think
old joke.
I don't think we deserve it.
Got shipped out to Neo Yokio and got eaten.
Don't even remind me of that piece of shit. Little tangent, since I've watched it since the last time that I was on the podcast.
Why?
Lord Almighty, because I had to. I do anime reviews for a living.
You don't have to do anything.
I watched it and I immediately regretted it, and I then downed half a bottle of Jack. And then everything was better.
You see, you did that in the wrong order.
One of those
Yeah, exactly.
Good thing I brought my vape. So we'll continue with our favorite president, Millard Fillmore 13, who has a theory for how this fight will end.
It better have to do with Thatch.
It goes somewhere along these lines. Luffy, your teeth, they're so beautiful. And Katakuri says, what? Nobody has ever complimented my teeth before. He says that it's quite clear that Katakuri is a katakundere.
God, I'm just imagining Luffy being like, wow, you could fit a whole lot of food in that.
Wouldn't it be great if the wedding we see at the end of this arc is between Katakuri and Luffy?
Amazing.
Yes. They already have a wedding cake being made.
That's true. It's perfect. There is the double standard we could discuss there between Pudding and Sanji and Luffy. Although, on the other hand, it's Luffy we're talking about. He would never even say those words to anyone.
True.
Which is really too bad, because this conversation...
I feel like the only way he would ever say something like that to anybody is if it would have happened during this arc already. There would have been somebody with a food devil fruit power that turns them into meat, and they're just like their body goes completely into meat, like that's their awakening power. And then he says to them, "Your meat, yeah, it's true, I guess." But then he looks at that person.
But even your bones are meat.
You're so delicious. You look so beautiful. Then I could see him saying it.
I thought you were going in a different direction with that, but
no. There's only so much sex jokes I can make on one episode,
and it's one.
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
Steven.
All right. OPP fan says, I noticed that time in Totoland flows fast compared to what we're used to. If you think about it, arcs like Enies Lobby and Dressrosa only took 1 day without reaching night. And while we can compare Whole Cake Island to Alabasta...
can I cut in? Enies Lobby was an island where it was always day.
That's true.
But continue.
That's true. Yeah, while we can compare Whole Cake Island to Alabasta, where the Alubarna climax was the only part that was stretched out, hearing characters say they'll meet 7 hours or so later suggests that the arc will end by the night. While we don't know that at this point, do you think Wano will be similar to Totoland regarding time flow, or will it be more akin to what we're used to? Maybe someone told Oda that people disliked how Dressrosa took place in 1 day, and he decided to spice things up from now on. Your thoughts?
Steven, just like going off of this, when's the last time we've had like a fight at night? Besides, I think Whiskey Peak is like the only thing that comes to mind.
Zoro and Ryuma, Thriller Bark.
Oh yeah, Thriller Bark. Thriller Bark was the last.
All of Thriller Bark.
All of Thriller Bark was at night.
Yeah.
Nekomamushi and Jack back during Zoe.
That was at night?
Yeah.
Oh, that was day and night.
Yeah, it's at night.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a super cool setting for like the
that
climax
one
of the fight.
with Law and Luffy in the pet fruit.
You just stop talking.
I mean, I think that the problem with Dressrosa wasn't that it took place in 1 day. It was that there was just too much stuff going on, and the plot got overstuffed. And the fact that I think the fact that there has been actual like passage of time from certain points in this arc is just it's simply, you know, a fact of the way that he wrote the plot. And I don't think it's necessarily like strategic in nature. It's just like, okay, well, they got there before there was a wedding so that, you know, he had time to set up all the plot strands, and then, you know, goes overnight and he resolves some drama there, and then it's the day of the wedding, and then so on and so forth. Like, you know, it's just spacing out the events such that they make sense, chronologically speaking. And, you know, I think he just does whatever he decides the plot requires. I wouldn't be surprised if Wano is a longer one as well in terms of chronology, just because I feel like that's going to be a very large art. Like, honestly, I would not be surprised if it is Dressrosa in length, because of how many ideas he likely has for it and the potential scope of it. And, you know, like, I'm not saying that length is necessarily a bad thing as long as it maintains its entertaining pace and you're not, you know, just getting slogged down in it. And if he can avoid that, then, you know, that's fine. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts about it. No. Okay. Let's see, get to the end here. I'll go down. Let's see. I'll take the last question here. My OC Yonji says, knowing what you now know, is it too late to rename Katakuri to Dogtooth for the volumes, or compromise?
No, stop it. Scan later, stop it. Stop the person reading the scans. Stop saying Dogtooth. It's not Dogtooth. I understand where you're coming from. I get it. I admit I have to read the scans sometimes because I do the videos, but I also subscribe to Shonen Jump. I read the official release. You should read the official release. Stop calling him Dogtooth. His name is not fucking Dogtooth. That's it. It's done. I'm done. No, don't read the rest of that question, Steven. Please, I beg of you. Just stop it there. No more fucking Dogtooth. I don't swear. I am known for being very clean and very Disney, but I'm sick and tired of people still saying that his name is Dogtooth. It's not fucking Dogtooth. Stop.
That's a lot, Roger. Fuck. You just demonetize our video, so thanks for that.
Someone get this man a donut.
There's nothing people hear less than things you say in the third hour of a podcast.
I do like the compromise here, though. But
yes,
whatever.
Sweet General Sweet Tooth. No, they're absolutely not. If it seemed like that was magically, you know, this was like, I don't know, you know, stop clock is right twice a day, as they say. I think that is a complete and total coincidence. For one thing, I think the actual like name of the whatever, what is it, like the genus, or is it the species? I forget which one is the family of flowers that the literal Katakuri flower belongs to. It's not actually dogs. Like, that's literally one of the flowers, which is not Asian in origin, is called Dogtooth. Everything else is like Fawn Lily or something like that. So really, we should be calling him Charlotte Fawn Lily. Yeah, or Tiger Lily or something like that.
I actually love that name and endorse it.
Yeah, use that instead of Dogtooth.
Yes, please. There you go, Scanlation websites. Many other choices.
Total nonsense. Never gonna happen.
Hokum. Bunk, even.
Mm-hmm. Fufara. Argo Burgle. That's it for Reddit.
That's it? I saw someone also notice the Katakuri Simpsons, but cool. Let's go into our final piece together segment. Ed?
Piece the sweet.
See what you did there. Yeah, it's a slight twist on what we normally do there.
That's right.
What did I say about changing things? Anyway. What do we got?
First one comes from Chopper's Left Antler, who says, do you think we'll get to see Luffy's Devil Fruit power awaken in the fight against Katakuri?
No.
I don't hear many heads exploding. I was expecting a more violent reaction to this question.
I don't think so.
We're just tired.
It seems he's figured out Katakuri's weakness. This isn't just like an, oh man, I gotta figure something out to be able to beat this guy. Because I think he's actually figured out a way to beat this guy.
Well, again, wouldn't that just be a bounce house? Anyway.
I mean, if you're gonna do it anyway, the Mirror World's probably pretty great for a bounce house.
Yeah, but a bounce house isn't terrifying. I mean,
Maybe that's like
it
can
that's
be.
where
Mochi, though.
Katakuri's. Yeah, well, maybe that's where Katakuri's getting some of his power from. He's drawing it from the mochi that he's created, or something like that. And then maybe Luffy uses awakening and like turns everything to rubber, and then he has no like food source to feed off of to get his sugar rush. I don't know.
Let's move to the next one.
Next one comes from Shogun Taz, who says, "We saw Katakuri's block mochi hurt Luffy's armament hockey, so is this a hint for future rubber vulcanization?"
Someone likes my theories from 2009, so sure.
All right, next one comes from Adnan, who says, "Will Morgan's report that the Tamate Bako box caused the explosion at Whole Cake Island and the possible implications for Fishman Island by the BMP?" Lost me on that last one. BMP?
Fishman
Mom
Island.
Big Mom
Big
Pirates.
Mom
Ah,
Pirates,
Big
yeah.
Mom Pirates. Okay, that makes sense.
Big Morgan's Press.
Big Morgan's Press.
That's the name of the holding company that owns the...
Yeah.
After all, he is fake news Morgan, so he'll probably
Yes.
put out whatever the government wants him to say.
Wow.
Go
I
ahead.
thought we agreed we weren't going to get political, guys.
As I said, third hour of a podcast.
Yeah, no, we could finally get political. And
Next one comes from Eric Morita 1.
Don't read that one.
No.
No.
read it.
No.
Piss him off.
Don't do it.
Dog tea's not sounding too bad off nowadays. Such an Oda thing to do. I love it.
Why did you read that?
It seems that Roger
Nice.
was right all along. Ed, what's next?
Oh, Pongzilla, we already answered this question in the opener, but we all love donuts, especially Sam.
Oh yeah, I accidentally answered. Especially.
Wow, I thought. Oh, you didn't actually see that.
No, I didn't. I was planning on asking that question from the second I read the chapter. I'm like, oh, I'm totally gonna ask people what their favorite donut is, and then Sam doesn't answer it. Can you tell I'm
Favorite
bitter?
donut is rice balls.
Okay. Next one comes from Zhu Newer, who says, "What would the Straw Hats have dressed as for Halloween, supposing they made their own costumes, and what would they do after?"
Which one would be dressed up as Florida?
Who makes the costume?
Oh, Luffy.
Because
I'm a monster.
I mean, whatever Usopp's would be, he would be unrecognizable because his, crafting and artistic skills are so good.
Yeah, I guess Frankie and Usopp would have a distinct advantage here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Well, Brooke could cosplay as Ace because he's dead.
Nice. I
I like it. Yeah, me too.
oh,
He
shit.
just puts on Ace's hat. That's all he
It's
does.
It's his Halloween costume.
To
Happy
be
Halloween,
fair,
Luffy.
there's a lot of people, not as an offensive thing, but there are a lot of people at conventions who just put the hat on, and Luffy would totally be one of those people.
What about Sanji?
A prince. Oh
Yeah.
wait, no, maybe not this tone of the arc.
Right.
Or he'd be Mr.
It-
Prince.
You could do Soma from Shokugeki no Soma.
I don't know
Food
what
Wars.
that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, next question comes from our very own Ash. It says, with all the Katakuri focus in this week's chapter, no one seems to be asking the important question. What's under Smoothie's helmet?
Hat hair.
Yeah, hat hair. I love it. I love it.
What's her shame?
Next question comes from...
He just always has it. It's unmanageable.
She's balding.
Oh,
Oh, that would actually be really funny.
yeah, I like that.
The comb
She's-
forward with the receding hairline.
That is totally an Oda thing, and it would be answered in an SBS. We would never actually see that.
She squeezes herself.
You just have
Next
to ask
one.
Oda, is she balding? And he'll just say yes.
Mhm.
Quick Quest asks, would you please describe the horror of the entire Big Mom family on Halloween night?
The horror.
Oh Jesus.
All right.
I mean,
Would
what
people
like
just
what would they do to one up like normal Whole Cake Island?
would you just tear pieces off of like houses? Like
Just put little cutouts of bats around.
They probably purposely starve Big Mom for a few days right before Halloween, because that would be truly terrifying. Especially if you're an orphan.
She could she can give souls to pumpkins. Maybe they can gather up pumpkins, and all the little singing jack-o'-lanterns could do a little musical number. I'd be happy with that.
That'd be pretty great.
I mean, I've just assumed that it's basically just this is Halloween. They just do the big song and dance number.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
What's next, Ed?
Oh, 91 Ryan also wanted to ask us our favorite donuts. So it's a popular question this week. But our very own Adil has a question. He asks, maybe a little on the nose, but do you guys think that Zunisha has been ordered in the past to move in Raftel's direction?
I see what he did there on the nose.
More like on the trunk.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
Man, I don't know. It could be anything.
It feels like it should be
Zunisha-
tied in, though.
Yeah, Zunisha is so mysterious. Very cool.
Big elephant.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll see more about that before the series ends.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Ricky Cocaine asks,
Oh, what? Hold on, Rick. I actually know him. So he's one of my co-hosts on Japan Time. Thank you,
He's my
Ricky.
hookup.
that's the JTP.
He's got the
you
donuts
too?
and the sugar that I need.
Oh my god, your katakuri obsession makes so much sense suddenly.
Future Yonko equals Big Brother? Charlotte Katakuri has been putting in work and seems like he could take over the family business.
What?
Was he
Yeah.
asking like? He's asking like, is Katakuri gonna be
The
the
leader
next
of the
Yonko
family.
or something?
I don't know. He doesn't really have that sort of charisma to me.
I don't think any one of her kids would be able to take over the
agree.
family if she failed. It would be so much infighting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would be like if Walter Frey died and then he has 90 different sons and grandsons and great grandsons. I feel like that's kind of the situation there. It's just like she's too central of a figure.
So
Yeah.
Fill that void.
Sanji's gonna cook Big Mom and feed her to everyone else.
He's gonna rip off a mask.
What's next, Ed?
All right. Let's see. Who wrote this? This was from. This is an actual question from
91 Ryan.
91 Ryan, who says, take the most ridiculous devil fruits that have appeared in the manga and describe what their awakened abilities would be, like the jacket fruit.
Oh my, that fruit remains one of the most ridiculous.
I mean, it turns the
He envelops
world around him into jackets.
It warms the world or protects it from rain or wind.
It's not really
Wear the world. Oh man, that's deep.
It's so scary.
It's not really the
Sam.
fruit itself, but I mean, it is hard. I still feel like there's a high watermark with Lasso, the gun that is a dog that shoots baseballs. But the fruit itself was the dog fruit, right? I feel like that'd be pretty awesome if you could just like touch any surface and it would be a dog's head, like you could just pet.
Oh my god.
Well, zones have their own awakening, don't they?
Oh, that's true.
Oh, that's true.
Oh no, I like Steven's idea. Please don't ruin it for me.
Oh man. What would Apis' awakened fruit be?
Okay, let's move to the next
You
question.
can hear the voice of all things.
She already does.
Then get more woke than that. That's what they're woke powers.
That
was
is such
that was
a
the
better
fruit.
name.
What powers are
Twitter,
woke?
Twitter fruit.
They're like, shit, this government's corrupt. And everything. That's what happens when you woke your devil fruit.
This morning, this is big news.
Like Katakuri will go from above awakened to woke, and he'll be like, "Shit, I better leave this island. This is not cool." Speaking of, what's the next question, Ed? Perfect
Really
transition.
a question so much as a statement, a dispatch, if you will, from our leader, President Big Mom, who says, "Stop reporting fake news. The son is a great man with a fantastic mouth, wonderful mouth, best mouth in the Grand Line." Piece of tweet.
By the way, we never insulted his mouth.
I mean,
Yes.
if anything, it was her own chefs that were freaking out about it. Luffy didn't care.
Exactly. Luffy is very
No,
excited.
no one actually cared about that. So I feel like she's distracting us from something else that's going on that's more important. But I can't think of what it is. Anyway, let's go to the next one.
Okay, last one comes from the Pool Cat. It says, what are everyone's favorite YouTubers?
Wow, I feel like I have to answer a
No, you don't.
specific
No, you don't.
person
No,
who's
you don't. You
here because he's right here. Do any of us watch YouTubers? Roger not included, obviously.
Sure, I watch Binging with Babish. He makes food from movies and TV shows. That's pretty good. I like the slow-mo guys.
I watch Bob Ross on YouTube. That's a YouTuber.
Because you a nerd.
I don't think I like. There's like a specific present company excluded personality that I watch. I'm trying to think.
I absolutely
double
do not watch
toasted guys.
any anime or video game YouTubers except for you, Roger.
Missouri Cocoa
Hey,
Company.
thank you.
I guess Greg's a manga YouTuber. Really.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's joined.
He's got what, like 4 videos now?
Yeah, I think he's up there. I think 4 is when you become an official YouTuber, right? That's the watermark. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, I guess we're all set. So why don't we round off the podcast and add a little something special at the end for those that listen to the end. This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 493 for October 30th, 2017. Great show today, you guys. Thank you so much for coming on. We got to talk about donuts, chapter 883, with more donuts. I don't think the anime had any donuts this week, but there's always next week for that. So thank you all for coming on, and of course some Piece Together. Stick around, we're going to do some trivia again at the end. Please let us know what you think of the segment, what we could do to improve it. This is kind of our pilot run. If it works, we'll keep doing it. Otherwise, we will stop. But before we round off the show, I want to remind everyone we will be at Anime NYC at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City on November 17th. That is Friday at 8 p.m. in panel room 3 for our 20 Years of One Piece panel. We will have prizes and maybe even trivia to go along with those prizes. We'll see you there, hopefully. I'll be there, Kelly will be there, maybe others. So keep an eye on our social media for more information on that. And before we round off the show, let's go around. Please make everything you say donut related. We're not allowing any non-donut related puns this week. Not puns. Plugs. Roger.
Oh, come on. You're putting me on the spot. All right, I got to think. You
don't actually
Cronut find me. Cronut find me on Roger's Base, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Instagram. On Instagram, I post up pictures of the donuts that I eat. On YouTube, I do videos of the donuts that I eat. And on Twitch, I live stream myself eating donuts. And on Twitter, I tweet about eating donuts. So,
dude,
yeah,
I
roll
would
on over
totally
there
watch that.
Check that out.
Do you have anything else going on a less donut-y note?
No, I just these past 3 weeks have just been exhausting with conventions. So we had TwitchCon and then LA Comic Con, and then next weekend is BlizzCon. So I'll be there. If any of you guys play Overwatch, I'll be there. I think there's going to be a Nintendo announcement there, so that should be pretty exciting. But otherwise, nope. After that, I'm just taking it easy.
Jill.
Do not tell me what to do, Zach. My Twitter is Pirates on Luck. I actually do have pictures of donuts on there from yesterday, and every donut I have, I always put a picture of it because it's worth it, and you guys are too. Yeah.
Sam.
They can find me on AnimeNewsNetwork.com doing the daily streaming reviews for One Piece, Dragon Ball Super, and now Black Clover. You can find me on Twitter at Lucky Chainsaw, and you can find me on the One Piece podcast every week doing the anime recaps.
Yeah, that's all you have to say. Steven.
See, I don't want to make it sound like I hate donuts, but I fucking hate donuts.
If you,
I knew it. Get the hell out of here. Steven?
All right. Well, if you want to get crispy with me, you can follow me, dunk me on Twitter at Translatosaurus. I actually have put up pictures of myself getting donuts before. It's been a while though, so maybe I need to rectify that. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Ed, where can people find you?
Well, I am Edward E. One Piece on Twitter. You are Zach_Logan.
That's us, I should say. Go ahead.
That's right. The podcast can be found at OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, and Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast. Please support us, Patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Get access to our back catalog. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. OnePiecePodcast is our Skype name. Please subscribe on SoundCloud, subscribe on Google Play, subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, or call us on our phone number. Zach?
That phone number is 347-497-MAJI. That phone number again is 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
With your questions, your comments, and please send us all of your donuts because they belong to us. And before we round off the show, it is time for our brand new segment that we do not yet have a name for. It's our trivia segment. As per some suggestions, this week I am going to time it at 5 minutes. So this week I thought we'd revisit our favorite little arc, the Dressrosa arc, for our trivia segment. And I do that because I'm sure we've all forgotten it. So I'm gonna go. We're gonna cap it at 5 minutes once I start. Now the way this game works is I'm going to ask you to name characters within a certain group, and the first person and all the subsequent people until we're left with one who does not name a person in that group will lose. The last one standing wins. The winner this week will get Pride, according to what I have here in the notes. Pride is our
Not a
prize
donut.
for this.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Fine.
I was gonna say I was surprised that you weren't. The category isn't just name a type of donut.
I should have done that. But you know what? I will, if and when I see the person, I will buy them a donut of their choice, but one. There you go. Is that good? That's a good prize. The order this week will be Steven, then Sam, then Roger, and then, Steven, Jill, Sam, Roger, and Ed. That's the order that we read the chapter in, except for Ed. The category this week is the Don Quixote family, specifically the and there's a lot less in this. It's that, remember that 2-page spread where they go through all of them? Specifically those. So these will be the top 3 to 4 members of each of the quote-unquote teams. That would be the Spade team, the Diamond team, and the Club team. You guys ready to go?
Okay.
Okay. We're going to do 5 minutes, and we're going to start it once my phone works, which could be at any minute now. Let's go now. Steven.
Treble.
Pika.
Doflamingo.
Roger.
Diamante.
Lauji.
Gladius.
Mr. Pink.
Viola.
Are we counting Mr. Pink as Senor Pink?
Oh, what?
Are we counting that? Sam, go again.
Viola.
Buffalo.
Yes. Ed?
Jola.
Yes.
Mockvice.
Yes.
Baby 5.
I want to say,
Yeah, Baby 5's there. Go ahead.
I want to say Virgo's on there.
Yes, Virgo is on there.
Has anyone said Dellinger yet?
No.
Okay, cool. Dellinger.
Ed?
Trafalgar Law.
No. Ed is first out. Steven.
Okay. Fuck. Man.
I'm gonna give you 5 seconds here.
I might have thought of one just now. Damn.
Sorry, Steven.
No, yeah, I can't think of any.
Jill.
Ah, shit.
I'm trying to forget, Zach.
5 seconds, Jill.
If nobody else can think of one, I want a shot at redemption.
Jill. No?
No.
Sorry, Jill. Sam.
Has Buffalo been said?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we're counting that as a loss there? Roger?
Has sugar been said?
No, Sugar has not been
There you
said.
go. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So Roger's our
I was
winner.
thinking through all of them. I'm like, that's a very.
And I was gonna say her sister Monet.
Oh, yeah.
Monet was there, and I think Gladius
Oh, she was
the
there.
last one.
I said
Someone
Gladius.
said Gladius.
Lao G.
First one said. Yeah.
No,
Lao G.
I said
Lao
Lao
G.
G.
Okay, so
That's the first
so Sugar was the last one standing there.
Monet and Monet.
And Monet. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Just- hey, oh.
So yeah, that's it for our trivia this week. Good job, Roger. Congratulations. That was
I won?
Yeah, you won.
Oh.
You get a free donut when you
Yeah, I
meet
was
me.
already
Alright.
out. I was just making sure to get the last one in.
Actually, donuts should always be the prize. I like that. It's something I can afford, and it's delicious. So that's going to do it for this week on the One Piece podcast. We'll be back next week with our manga recap of chapter 884. And again, please let us know if you like the trivia and if you like what we're doing with it or whatever. Anyway, my name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
We'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Don't call him Dogtooth, please.
It doesn't get more woke than that. That's what they're woke powers.